Hey, Mitch, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for taking some time here during the workday. With all the challenges that you guys have had through the course of the offseason, you get somewhat of an added one, getting Brian Winters in and trying to get him onboarded as fast as possible. Can you see that almost as an easier thing in light of all these circumstances, just because of his time in the league, number one, and the fact that real football, where you're lining up and getting a feel for one another, still hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, with a guy like Jon getting hurt, it's never a good time, right? But we all knew that veterans, being able to get a veteran in throughout the season or before season, even in free agency, was going to be at a premium this year just because of the COVID situation and meeting times and not really getting into the building with guys until, a few weeks ago. So, his body of work is very impressive. He's put a lot of good games together. He's started a lot of games, and I think he's hungry to be the best teammate he can be and be a good football player. And I think that's apparent even just one day in. He's a good dude, and we're excited to be with him. It's unfortunate about Jon. We'll get him back, and because Jon's such a tremendous presence in the offensive line room, and he still is. But it's not the most ideal, but having a guy like Brian come in is fantastic.
Thanks, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch, Josh Reed, great to see you. Glad to see you're doing well, considering everything. With Brian, kind of circling back a little bit to what Chris was talking about, with Brian, what's the biggest difference between maybe the way he plays and the way Jon plays? Because you're obviously going to be the guy shoulder to shoulder with him.
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't really gotten to work with Brian yet. This is really his first day in, and we have our walkthrough in the afternoon. But just seeing how he works, Brian, much like I can probably give you more comparisons and similarities. Okay. Very physical players, both are very smart, and they seem to both really uplift both, physically being a football player, but emotionally the offensive line they're with and the group they're with. So very happy to be with a guy like that, and we'll see how it goes. We'll get our first day of work in today.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mitch. Hope you're well, and thanks for doing this.
Oh,
so want to ask you again. I know this has been the theme here. Is the when you have a disruption of this line, meaning Jon's injury. One of the things when we spoke, you and I spoke earlier in the offseason, you were counting on this continuity of the line, how good that was. That obviously is off the table with Jon's injury. So from that standpoint, the challenge of even with Brian's experience or whoever ends up lining up next to you, how much of a challenge it is to try to overcome that continuity disruption, A, and B, Feliciano, it also seems to me that another thing that he has going for him is, we've heard, is this feistiness, this attitude that he brings beyond his physical play. How maybe you're going to miss that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think feisty is the most apt description of Jon Feliciano. He just brings a nastiness to the game, and it's really fun to play with him, and we'll get that back here sooner rather than later. But like we talked about earlier, Vic, in the offseason, I think continuity is important, but it's also extremely rare in this profession, just whether it's for free agency or guys leaving or, injury. And, it's an unfortunate deal, but it happens all the time. And we're really looking forward to Jon getting back out there. But, I think we got to get as many reps as we possibly can, getting guys' ears, getting mental reps in different ways. I think this year I saw someone with a great quote. It was ingenuity and kind of creativity over normalcy, right? And I think that'll be interesting to see how that pans out and how fluid that will be day by day. But it's just an interesting time, and we're very fortunate to have a guy like Brian who's played a lot of football come in and step up and compete with guys who are already here who are stepping in right now for Jon and playing very good ball.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mitch, John Scott from Spectrum News. Good to see you.
You're welcome.
This is obviously so unique. You'd be in pads by now and gotten used to getting back into the contact of football. how, to the best of your knowledge, are you personally, the offensive line, those guys in the trenches, gearing up for that almost quick ramp up to contact before the games come in 5 Sundays from now?
Yeah, it is interesting how quickly it's going to come up, but we just have to trust the process. We have to trust what coach put in front of us, what the NFLPA and the NFL have agreed upon rather. It's nice, especially with guys who have had different access to workout regimes or just equipment. Everyone kind of getting on the same page here, and we're still getting good work even without pads. And I think it's pretty. We're fortunate that coach is putting us in still fairly competitive situations without pads, still under the guidelines of the rules. But I think we won't. I mean, it'll be interesting. Like you said, it'll be kind of a compressed, condensed time before our first game. But I think we'll still be able to get good work in, and I don't think anyone's stressing about it.
And quick follow-up, I know it's really only been a week and you're still kind of trending upwards, but are you getting comfortable with the new way things are having to go here?
Yeah, I think you have to, right? It's one of those things that no one knows what's going on, and there's some sort of comfort in you're not being the only one who doesn't know. Everyone's kind of adapting, and yeah, so far so good. Days are long, but it's training camp. Days are going to be long, and that's what it's all about. And we're still able to come together and get great work in.
Thanks.
Hey, Mitch, thanks for doing this. Hope you're doing well. You said there's a continuity disruption with Jon Feliciano's injury and Brian Winters stepping in, but you guys do return 4 players. So there's quite a bit of continuity still left on this offensive line. So how do you think that helps this season? And do you think the chemistry is going to be better than last season? If so, why?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think even with 4 of our starting 5 on paper, and we have backups who have been here before, so they can get Brian into it and see how that all pans out. Yeah, it's going to be much better than last year, hopefully. I mean, we had 3 new offensive line coaches and I think 6 free agents come in, 1 guy returning, starting on the offense. It was a unique situation, not only for the Bills, but in the NFL in general. So there was a lot of growing pains, but there was also a lot of times where we got together and things clicked. And I think just being able to build on that, communication's a little crisper. There's still things we have to work on and learn from, but that's football. And we're excited to work, and we're excited to come with a purpose every day.
And then quick follow-up, what did you do this off season? Did you train with any of the guys? Did you train with anybody else in the NFL? How was the 5 months in quarantine for you?
Yeah, it was a unique. I just worked out by myself in my gym that I built in my garage, and did some stuff on the field by myself. It was very interesting. It was something I hadn't experienced before, really intrinsically finding motivation every day to get stuff going on. And I think it gave me tools that I can use in the off seasons to come. But I was also, we just had a kid this off season. So we're in the trenches with that too. So it was fun. It was a growing experience, both as a father and a football player.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Mitch, good morning. Mookie
Good morning.
Hawkins, Ruffalo Sports 1080. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. First and foremost, I'd like to appreciate what you and your wife were able to do in reference to giving back to communities due to COVID. That's a great thing. I really think that's a really good thing. Good job on that. But year 2, last year you was the new guy in the building, just kind of getting your feel with all the guys in the building. Now your second year in, what are some of the things that you are trying to work on to see yourself get better a little bit as a center?
I love that question. Thank you very much. For me, I think crisper communication. I think something that a center can do is make everyone's job easier. And I think last year I was caught really just not on purpose, but focusing on what I had, and that sometimes would make me a mute when that's not the time to do it. I think just learning how to compliment the people I'm playing next to, since I'm starting to figure out myself. And I think the great thing about being a pro football player is you still do the same drills you're doing as a Pee Wee football player. It's just working on keeping those finite skills and growing on that so that you can focus on the big scheme of things. And when you kind of also, on the other end, hone the mental aspect of it, you think less about that and you can just go play ball freely. So there's a lot to answer your question. But that's what makes it so exciting. I think a lot of guys would say the exact same thing.
Absolutely. Hey, Mitch. Hey, I wish you nothing but the best. I'm glad you guys are back in the building, and let's get to work.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, Mitch, Matt Perino, Syracuse.com. Thanks for taking some time today. When you look back on last season, what were some of the growing pains, if any, that, you kind of found in evaluating it with you and Josh and that relationship that you talked so much last season about trying to build? And then how far has that come in the off season with whatever work you guys have been able to do together?
Yeah, it was not the most ideal for me coming in, going back to back, having surgery and then a concussion in training camp. So, we didn't get to work that much, maybe 6 practices. I mean, walkthroughs and stuff, but before the first game last year. And not to make any excuses, there's stuff we can get better at. And I think Josh has come really into his own. Coming into year 3, it's very cool to see the way he's taking command, and the communication's crisp. It's clean. It's exciting. The moxie he's got even in practice and attacking every walkthrough rep like a game rep is the way you get better. And between just us two, I think we weren't able to do much this off season just because we were in different parts of the country, different things going on in our lives. But it's something pretty cool to see, just the way the communication is crisper. And I know I just harp on that, but less is more sometimes, and portraying information promptly and decisively is kind of something that I'm seeing right now just between us two, and it's something we could definitely grow on. But it's fun to see, and it's making our jobs a lot easier.
And just a quick follow, is that something that's just natural, that's just going to take some time for the rapport to grow and the trust factor and all the elements that go into making a relationship? Yeah,
I think one of those things that we missed out on, and we're going to miss out on a little bit this season, is just building camaraderie outside of the building. So you got to really take in the time you have in this building, even if it's on the field or off the field, and make that as effective as possible, and really kind of growing on that. And I think it's just one of those things that time does play a role in that, but also that if you guys got to come in and learn and get going, they got to do that. So to answer your question, I think it is one of those cool things that both of us are 1 year or senior in the NFL, and that helps a lot in this league.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mitch, Sal Majorano over in Rochester. Good to see you, pal. Couple things for you. First, offensive linemen around the league, that was the highest number of guys that opted out. And, it's for obvious reasons, but, because of so much close contact. What were your thoughts on it, and what's it been like in the offensive line room? Have you guys discussed the fact that you are the players that are most in contact with each other?
Yeah. I think if people would lie if they didn't think about it a little bit when that all came around, especially having a kiddo. But that's conversations you have with your significant other and the people around you. And we were at a very comfortable spot with continuing playing ball. I think offensive line and defensive linemen, it's a little oxymoron trying to keep space, right? You're in the trenches, you're exchanging breaths and, sweat and stuff like that. So it really is dependent, I think, on everyone's personal life and where they are in their lives and are in their career. And, just because one person thinks one way and this crossroads in their life doesn't mean that another person technically is, but it also is, you have to respect everyone's decision. And it takes a lot of guts to make that decision. I respect the hell out of it. And I wish guys opting out nothing but the best. I think everyone had the right reasons for it. And I think there's some right reasons to stick around too. So, to kind of come back around, no one really knows everything, right? So misery loves company in all of this, and no one really knows what's going on. So we just kind of do the best we can. And if people think opting out is the best thing for them, that's fine. And I know I'm dancing around this because I really don't know the right answer. It was a tough one for everyone. And people made decisions they thought were right, and we support that 100%.
And if I could, real quick, just your thoughts on the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. You spent some time there. I know you don't look back. It seems like you're happy in Buffalo, but, your team, your former team won it. What were your thoughts?
I have some really good friends on that team, and I was happy for him. But like you said, I'm in the place I need to be. I couldn't be happier where I'm at. And, watching that game, I was happy for my friends. I know the work they had put in, and couldn't be happier for them, but I couldn't care less at the same time because I knew where I was, and I was happy to be there.
Okay, thanks, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mitch. Jay Skursky with the Buffalo News. Thanks for doing this. Devin Singletary and Dawson Knox are going to be counted on, in their second year to play pretty big roles for this team. Can you reflect back to your transition from being a rookie to your second year, and just maybe how much of a jump you felt like your game took, and how, spinning that forward, you maybe are excited about what Devin and Dawson can do in year two for them?
Yeah, I think your rookie year, you have so much going on. So much is thrown on your plate. You go from your bowl game to training to spring ball to a condensed little 2 weeks, and then you're in the training camp early, and it's the NFL. It's a whole new deal. So mentally and physically, it's exhausting. So having that time to step back, kind of reflect on what you've learned, and then also being in a system for another year helps tremendously. And that way you think less about the plays, think about more about ball, and just get muscle memory. And I think that's a big step. And you've heard it before, like you said, and those guys are already tremendously talented and great teammates, and it'll be exciting to see those dudes take the next step.